Four Noble Truths show us how this is unwise, because the Four Noble Truths, are the Buddha's first sermon. He told
Right.
his original peers in that yogic practice, when they were all ascetic yogis, he came back to them after he had his realization, after enlightenment, and he said, "Look, guys, life sucks." Talking
Yeah,
about the
very
mud.
positive, very positive motivational speaker, right? Yeah, that sucks.
Hello, dear YouTube Sangha. Welcome to another episode of Peace of Mind. I'm Dharma Peace, joined with my co-host.
Dharma Sky.
All right, you guys, welcome to the channel, and I hope you're having a good day today, because the topic today that we've discussed is not so positive, but I think it leads to positivity. And we're
Mm-hmm.
working with the title, "Not People Suck, but People Suffer." And Sky, I was
Mm-hmm.
wondering what your thoughts were when I started to open this up and be like, maybe we should cover this topic.
Yeah, like first of all, I kind of reflect on myself because I have said that before. I've been guilty of saying people suck and people are crappy and this and that.
Same, yeah.
But of course, as good as we know, it's so much deeper than that. Like everything is a reason. Like we practice everything with purpose. So when we're dealing with people, we're not just dealing with the surface. Like we see people for truly who they are. Like we're seeing why they act the way they are, their history. Stuff like that. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think the audience gets to, like, they should know what caused this topic and why I came up with it. And the reason is because I was going through a thread covering the Walk for Peace, and then the thread turned into a political conversation. And then a commenter said, "People suck." And that was it. And it struck me like a discordant bell, like bong, and like it was just, people suck? What? In a thread about
What? How
Buddhism?
could you
And
say that?
yeah, is this person Buddhist? Everything about it
Yeah,
was just kind of betrayed the message in a way to me. So I was like,
absolutely.
we have to reframe this narrative that people suck.
Mhm.
And that's
Yeah,
what this is.
and it happens like something will happen and we react. But as Buddhists, when we practice, and we gotta kind of pump the brakes a little bit. We can't just react immediately. So everything we do is purpose. So we gotta realize because when you're in that meditative state,
Mm,
everything's about gaining insight. So instead of just taking things personally, you could kind of reflect on why that person's acting this way, and stuff like that. Like that's that in this society nowadays, like everything's like instant, like go go go. But
mm,
when you're in that meditative state, you gotta find the answers in that stillness. So instead of like being, oh, this person's horrible, this person's nasty, kind of have like the moment to pause and take it in and see, why is this person acting this way? Why are they communicating that way? And usually when you practice the listening and you have that patience to listen to, you can understand why that person's going through that suffering. Because
mm.
people who are sucky, it's because they're suffering deep inside. They either have some craving or they're trying to control everything, and because they cannot control everything, they react. And they live in ignorance and delusion. And it's our job as Buddhists to kind of find a way to make the situation better for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we're doing here now today, is why we're having this conversation, is because we want to help others improve things for themselves. And I like that you drew attention, Sky, up to what this person might be observing about other people and what they're missing. But I also kind of wanted to bring a little bit of attention to what that commenter might have been feeling. And they were probably feeling
Yeah.
overwhelmed. They're just feeling overwhelmed. That that is very common these days. I seen a post by one of our peers, and someone who has an ordination, in Buddhism, and they expressed the same kind of expression, where it's, things are not all right now. In fact, things are sucky. Things are miserable, and they're expressing their suffering. It's a little bit, the way that they did it was a little wiser than that other comment. You know what I mean?
Right.
Where they're willing to explain the condition, what we might say in Buddhism is talking about the mud, you know, where the lotus
Mm,
has to come out of. And yeah, we do that sometimes, where we're talking about the mud, where we're saying, well, let's have a look at the condition where the lotus has to grow. And that's really what we're discussing today, is that very observation. Is so that commenter, what he was probably feeling was overwhelmed, and what he's kind of done that we might deem unwise is what is called a thought terminating cliche. And that's why it is that kind of gets into the realm of wrong speech, basically saying like trying to frame the topic in a way that it no longer allows us to talk about it any longer. Where it's like, well, I have my conclusion. People just suck. And therefore, either you deal with it or you don't. And and that to me is unwise because it puts a damper on conversation and it doesn't really help anything, you know. So the Four Noble Truths show us how this is unwise because the Four Noble Truths, are the Buddha's first sermon. He told
right.
his original peers in that yogic practice when they were all ascetic yogis. He came back to them after he had his realization, after enlightenment, and he said, "Look, guys, life sucks."
Yeah,
Talking about the
very
mud.
positive, very positive motivational speaker, right? Yeah, that sucks.
Okay, that's not
I
what he
am
said.
light now and
No,
everything
no,
sucks.
I'm not putting words into Buddha's mouth. What he started off with was that there are four truths to our life, and the first one is dukkha, which is again
Hmm.
we talked about it before in our episode on changes, is
Hmm.
dissatisfaction or deficiency. It's not so much that when we say it's suffering, and that's why I don't like the term suffering, as I said before, because suffering is a phenomenological observation. It is our personal opinion about what's happening, but dukkha is deeper than that. Dukkha is looking at something that you find deficient. Like earlier, Sky, we were talking about my background, like how
Yeah,
the audience might have noticed that my background is not perfect, as I would love it to be a full display behind me and just be this perfect, presentable, whatever. But I have
mm.
a little bit
Hey,
of
to me, it's pretty fire. I see the those cherry blossoms. Yeah, I see
yeah,
those.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, I only got like a bluish like current behind me, so you're
yeah.
doing pretty well. I must admit.
Well, but this here is dukkha because it is something that I'm not satisfied with. It is deficient.
Mm,
It is unsatisfactory to me, purely based on my opinion. You know, and you might say that there are objective facts about this that it's darker over here, it's lighter over here, etc. But and
yeah,
so dukkha is the objective fact that things don't quite line up. They don't measure up. I like this idea of chirality, where symmetry, and then there's chirality, where objects are juxtaposed in a mirror, right? But if you look, like my hands, obviously one thing that's different is the ring. But if you look deeper into just look at your own hands, and try to mirror them, and you look at there are little changes that there are little differences, not just changes, but differences in what you're observing that show you dukkha. So you're looking at your hands and you have your palms in front of you, and you're like, okay, on my left hand there's a line here, on my right hand there's a line over here, and they don't line up perfectly. In fact, they don't line up. They're quite imperfect actually.
right.
And even though they mirror each other, there's those slight imperfections. That's dukkha, not the suffering part. Suffering is so the Buddha put it in those terms because it's a sermon. It's supposed to get at the what we call upaya, which means skillful means. It means getting
Okay.
to the heart of the Dharma without, not necessarily focused on factual correctness all the time, but getting what makes it correct is whether we understand it, whether it resonates, right? That's upaya. So
So it's how you deliver the message.
it's how you deliver the message, and it's how it leads into the next parts of the lesson, so we talked about dukkha. So following dukkha, you have samudaya, which is which means that what causes our suffering is our opinion about things. we crave things. We want it to either we want it to be beneficial to us. That's just human nature. That's the nature of living things. We want to
Totally.
we want to be comfortable. We want to eat. We want to we don't want to be bothered. That's a big one, right? And that's where aversion starts to set in. That's where looking at other people and starting to make evaluations on whether they're helping or hindering us. All those things. And then there's Nirodha, which is the cessation of that. The Buddha is saying that the first two truths are true nonetheless, but the third truth is that our predicament, this phenomenological experience that we have, can change, and meaning we can cease the suffering that's caused by those two first conditions. And then so that leads into the fourth noble truth, which is Magga, which is the path. And the path is a noble eightfold path, right? So again, we're talking about going from this position of having a delusional view of things, and then finding that in the four noble truths, that everything that's causing us to suffer is caused by our craving, our personal, what we think is beneficial to us.
Mm-hmm.
And while it may be true that certain things are beneficial to us, there's a difference between tanha and chanda. Tanha is craving, like, or desire for things in a very unwholesome and harmful way, in a way that at some point it will cause harm. And chanda
Mm-hmm.
is like the wholesome desire. Is a desire that leads to wholesome outcomes and to our growth experientially and spiritually. So, and I feel like the reason that people say unwise things, even though they see that, yes, suffering is caused by certain people, and let's be real, certain people in our world, in our lives, do cause harm, and they do it
Of course.
intentionally. They do it with, like, they're using their energies to do it, like, in a way that is wrong. It is unwholesome. It is unjust. Yes, but as Buddhists, we need to get a little bit deeper and a little, like, the word should be, we need to be more observational about our experience with other people. Uh, and
Absolutely.
and that's what this is like. We need to go ahead and start seeing the mud for what it is, and that the fact that we all start out in the same mud. The fact that, like, some of us are going around making evaluations about everything, and, like, I've been there. I know you probably been there, Scott. I don't know if you.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah, like, of course I've been there. I have been one of the most major offenders of that, going around saying this type of person is this type of person and that type of person, and just making up this social hierarchy in my head about how people are supposed to be, and then people who step out of that line, or, and all of that stuff. We're gonna get into it,
Yeah.
but the biggest problem, Sky, which I led with, was that this person, or whoever does this, like, I've said it before, you've said it before, people suck. What's going on there? Well, it's a thought terminating cliche, and it also fails to see that there's impermanence in our lives, that people aren't always going to remain the same, right? That people can change, but
Absolutely.
then we run into the problem, which has been termed by Carol Dweck as the fixed mindset, right?
Mm-hmm.
Psychologist Carol Dweck. So it just, she coined the term in psychology, but in Buddhism we also have this concept of the fixed mindset and the growth mindset, right? And again, about the
Absolutely.
unwholesome and the wholesome. And Sky, I feel like you know a lot about this, so I was just wondering if you could
Well, yeah, for sure.
maybe break it down for us. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what is the
Well, I like what you said moments ago about observing. I think when we're in this journey, you want to be in that meditative state. And what do we do when we meditate? We're getting insight. We are observing our thoughts, our feelings. When we bring this to a real life situations, we are observing the whole situation, the environment, the people right in front of us, what's going on, and taking a moment to pause and see if you can get some insight or some dharma from the situation. I think the reason people have a fixed mindset is because they're stuck in suffering, and they want to be in suffering for whatever reason, whether it's craving, because they want this and they want that, or they want control and they want everything to go their way. And if it doesn't happen their way, they tend to suffer. Or ignorance. Ignorance that might lead them to be like a know-it-all. I don't need to learn nothing. This is how it is, and that's it. Like a fixed mindset cannot grow. It cannot. It doesn't allow you to learn. It doesn't allow you to experience new things, question beliefs, traditions, and regardless if this is beneficial. Like it creates a know-it-all mentality, and it creates separation.
Hmm.
And as Buddhists, we want to create the opposite. We want to create unity and stuff like that. So it doesn't create compassion, and it doesn't lead you to the path of peace.
Hmm.
So how do we change this? I would say by changing our ideas. Like we talk about the fixed mindset, let's take that fixed mindset into the growth mindset. And what happens in the growth mindset is that it promotes acceptance, the ability to question, the inspiration to change, like the ability to understand others, and of course, peace of mind. Ha is the name of the show. It gives you wisdom because you learn that you don't know everything. So it makes you more open to gain wisdom, insight, and new ideas. Like absolutely, like. But the bad thing about this is that you can't force growth on people. Like unfortunately, all you could do is be a role model. You can inspire,
Hmm.
and hopefully, when you inspire, people can look at you and kind of be open to that new idea. Hopefully, when they see you doing your own thing and being happy and being peaceful, they can start questioning things, and then little by little, they'll take the poison out of their cup and empty it. And once they empty it, they will have that emptiness to gain new insight and new into wisdom and fill it out with joy and peace and compassion. And I think it's a great way to start to kind of like take your focus away from that fixed mindset, but into the growth mindset.
Hmm.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think. Well, I like everything you're saying because you're really pointing to, like, one thing you said there was that we can't force anyone to accept the growth mindset. A lot of the time, as you said, people get stuck in the fixed mindset because
Hmm.
in a lot of ways it relates to psychology in the sense that people learn defense mechanisms, and for whatever reason
Yes.
we think that it works for us, that we think that at some point we thought that we got a desired outcome by doing something unwholesome, having a fixed mindset, and then that we repeat that same cycle over and over again. So like some people think that delusion is a way to get what they want. So meaning telling lies or lying to themselves and just that tweaking the truth or bending reality to fit our own narrative uh, is one way that you get trapped in a fixed mindset. Another is aversion,
Yes.
where it's like looking at
Hmm.
other people as other, as not being anything like us, as not being worthy of our compassion or our understanding or our deep listening, being uncharitable. So aversion plays a role there too. Gets us trapped in fixed mindset in that way, where people are like, we're like, nobody move. You should be over there. You should not be near me. It's like, um, and that's a fixed mindset because it's like you think that these people should not go where they go and you don't belong there. You don't, there's so many ways, and I don't want to get stuck there because there's so much to unpack. But
Absolutely.
think about it, audience, dear Sangha, and you'll see that aversion plays a huge role in the fixed mindset in saying that people are like this, I'm like this. So you can even have aversion toward yourself. We all know what self-loathing
Absolutely.
is. Yeah, we all know what that is. We all know that, like, if I had done it a different way, that's why I'm angry at myself. That's why I hate myself. And that's fixed mindset. You do that enough, and you ruminate enough,
Yeah.
and you do Joska enough, where you rehearse arguments in your head and you start to ruminate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to cause a fixed mindset. And then,
Absolutely. We got.
okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say we got to find a way to kind of like change our perspective on things, like find that inner wisdom, like how to gain that wisdom, like how to go from the fixed mindset to a growth mindset. I got a couple pointers if you want to hear it.
Sure.
I'm a piece. I think the first one, you heard it before. I said it to you multiple times. Is accountability.
Mm.
It always starts with accountability. And, no more shit blaming. Oh, my life sucks. People suck. I'm just stuck in this misery. Like we can't. You gotta be accountable. Okay, the situation is not ideal right now. It is not. I
Mm.
don't like how I'm feeling right now. But we all know, and we said this a bunch of time: impermanence, impermanence, impermanence. even though the situation is not ideal, we have the power in our minds and in our hearts to change the situation. So we gotta set that. We gotta set that and being open to that vulnerability. Like people don't want to be in their emotions. Like no, I don't need help. Or I'm too good for that. And we, no, we gotta be open. Okay, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should have done that. And being open to that. That's a great way to start on that growth mindset. And after you do that, I recommend you reflect. You start a reflection practice. What can I do? Again, what can I do to change? Like, what can I control and what can I control? So we went from practicing a number one and seeing the impermanence of things to practicing non-attachment. Like, okay, I cannot control this. There's no need or point of me just thinking about it over and over and over again. Just control what I can control. And with time,
Absolutely.
that will lead you to another pointer, which is shifting perspective. And
Mm,
like I said in one of my videos, gratitude is the right attitude. Be grateful for what you have, and that you have the ability. Like, okay, I got two hands, I got two eyes. Let me do something with that. Nothing better. It's like complaining about little things. Like I could have it way worse. Like I've been through some stuff, but I always found a way to see the beauty on it, the lesson in it, because there's always a lesson in everything that happens in your life.
mm,
And then the final tip I would give is action. Just you gotta be willing to do the work. Like no more excuses, no more shit blaming. So to summarize everything, accountability, reflection, and then shifting the perspective and putting it into action. So I think that can help people out, fellow sangha, if you're watching, to go from that fixed mindset into that growth mindset.
absolutely, yeah. No, I agree wholeheartedly with everything there. And if I would put a cherry on that cake, it would be that. Yeah, like I don't know if anybody here in the sangha, I know maybe you, Sky, have seen the show Avatar: Last Airbender, right? He says it's at our lowest point that we are capable of the greatest change, and I feel that is something that we're struggling with as a species right now, not just as a culture. I don't feel like talking about it necessarily does anything about it. I feel like acting, like, because actions in certain situations speak louder than words. Sometimes talking is not always the best way to solve the problem. Sometimes it's wisdom and silence, like you're saying, Sky. That
Absolutely.
that we're sometimes we need to be humble and take stock of what's happening and really give ourselves a reality check and just admit what we can control and what we cannot. And if we can't control outcomes, then it's better to just spend our time on other things, on projects, on
Absolutely.
like just doing things that will hone our skills in a way that doesn't cause harm and will not impede our growth. So again, focusing on the growth mindset in a way is sometimes you got to be focused. And I love the another teacher's Shihong Yi, who's the head
Hmm.
of the Shaolin school in Europe. He always talks about this, that gaining focus, ceasing the activities entirely, and start like almost like starting your condition all over again, and then going
Yeah.
from there, taking stock of everything that you need and what will actually promote growth in your life. It all starts with humility, being humble,
Yeah.
not not continuing a conversation about the problem.
Yeah.
Like you notice that every time that you want to like you're like yeah, but and then you have this realization, but if
Yeah, but yeah, no
yeah,
way, no buts,
no but
no buts.
it's like
Be
yeah, you're
accountable. Do
be
what you gotta
accountable.
do.
Yes,
Reflect on how you can make it better. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So and I have like a couple other things that I want to cover, and then but Sky, I was saying that before I was telling you about this, and it was like I wish people would see this. Like in Buddhism, there's the four conceits. There and conceit, in English we say like you're conceited to mean like arrogant, but
Right.
conceits in Buddhism don't just mean that. Like it's not just oh you're conceited, you're arrogant. Like when you're conceited, it means you're not seeing your relationship with others in the way that you should. And the four
Mhm.
conceits in Buddhism are specifically that one, which is informed by both aversion, greed, or well, all three of the poisons: aversion, greed, and delusion. They are like to see people completely different from you, and there's reasons why those three poisons are how you start to see it that way. Like greed, right? They have what I want, so therefore it should belong to me. All right. And then there's aversion. This person is totally different from me because, well, they're annoying and I can't stand them. All right. That's aversion, right? And then you have delusion, where it's just simply like they're, like I said before, not seeing the interbeing, right? Like you're like thinking
Right.
that humans are just, we could be solitary creatures, right? And that's
We
not,
cannot.
no, that is
Yep.
just not our
Can be
nature.
farther from the truth.
Like, and
Right.
I'm not appealing to nature. I'm appealing to observation, right? Like we can be empirical about it and show that and demonstrate that
Right.
humans just don't do well without interbeing with other humans, right? Or even animals, or even expressions of nature. Like we are natural beings, and not seeing the inner being causes deep delusion. So yeah,
You seen
that
Castaway?
yeah,
Castaway, you be talking to coconuts,
yeah. You're talking to
and palm
Wilson.
trees. So yeah, absolutely.
um, yeah, and a very well practiced meditator can be in solitude, but is it really? Is it really? Because there's a presence there that people are not accounting for. Like, like I love how Sam Harris talks about the monks who are in the cave and they could be completely in solitude and not go crazy. But the thing is that
Right.
there's something you're missing, and that is they're Buddhists. So
Right.
what you're missing is the Buddha, and you're missing like other Buddhas and the other people that we like. Buddhists see the Buddha and Buddha nature everywhere. So we see like, so again, that gets deep into
So
another
yeah, you
topic.
don't got you don't gotta go into a cave and all that stuff
Yeah, yeah,
if you
yeah.
don't want to. But
Right.
I think part of it is put into practice. Like it's easy to be peaceful, like when you like by a river and stuff like that. But
Mm,
I think what you learn from Buddhism and your spiritual journey, you see it when you live it in daily life to see if you really practice it. And if you develop that compassion and that understanding, that deep listening, the right action, like everything that has to do with Buddhism, I think you see it on your everyday life. And I think
mm.
that's when you can see that you truly are in peace. Because we all connected. You said earlier people thinking that we're separate. It's like no, we all connected. That is a delusion. And if people trigger you and they make you say, oh, that person's annoying, instead of again focus on that feeling, be non-reactive. Like stop, pause. Why is this person making me feel this way? Maybe they're trying to teach me something. Maybe it's a trigger.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Why is it triggering? Growth
Mm.
mindset. How can I transcend that and do better? So yeah, you can't escape everything. Sometimes you're just a part of society and you just gotta take the moment and just gain insight from every situation.
This is really becoming like a therapy session. This is like real therapy right now.
Right? No, but
No, I love it. And no, everything you said is spot on, 100%. But I also wanted to just say again, what Buddhists are seeing when in isolation, when what we're seeing, and I'm talking to our let's say our inner circle too, our deeper sangha, not just the YouTube sangha, but like I'm talking about everyone, peace of mind in our temple. What is happening is like when you're in isolation and you're meditating, you actually get into the flow state, and you're actually, maybe you're approaching jhana, maybe you're approaching spiritual feet, and you're like, well, nobody's around me, nobody, but you know what's happening.
hmm
You know what it is the Buddhist tenet sila, and like, so the fact that we can sit in solitude and just be in bliss about the fact that we're not harming anyone, that we have compassion, that we have sympathetic joy and equanimity, those things, and loving kindness, those do not happen without being in a relationship, without interbeing with other beings, right? So
hmm
that's what's happening. So it's not a solitary practice, even though we are kind of,
You need it though.
yeah,
You need that solitude. Like you need those moments to meditate and reflect. But once you get that insight, it's about taking it out there
mm.
and making the world more interconnected, like you said, instead of just thinking I'm just gonna be by myself in this corner and that's it.
Well, what I'm trying to say is that we are relishing in non-harm. We are relishing in
Yep.
loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. That we're not. So we remove ourselves physically from social issues because they're just too messy, and they're too like loaded with other things. The mud, it's so much mud
hmm
going on.
Yeah.
But when we reach that point, the lotus is blossoming above the mud, right? And again, but
Absolutely.
nevertheless, we're still there. We're still a part of it. There's like,
It's still attached to the
we're
mud.
still, yeah, we're still like, in Buddhist doctrine, you have the debate of nirvana, samsara, and then like there's in Mahayana, there's a lot of interlinking of, and even, so even in Theravada, there are certain discourses that shows that there's an interlinking sort of interbeing also with samsara and nirvana, right? That you can't have one without the other.
Mhm.
And
A beautiful way of
so
saying that, yeah.
disabusing yourself of that conceit of being completely different is a good step towards not saying people suck. Okay. The next
Mhm.
step would be facing the inferiority and the superiority,
Mhm.
right? So those conceits of inferiority and the conceit of superiority, thinking that you're less than others or you're deserving of less dignity or less um, place in the world. We need to deal with that. First of all, that's self-harm, and it's also not seeing things as they are. Dear Sangha, I'm telling each and every one of you that you deserve to love yourself.
Absolutely. You
Yeah.
matter. You're important. So love yourself.
And also, and it's your
Be grateful for
responsibility.
what you got, and yeah, yeah,
Yeah. You're
yeah.
responsible for that. You're responsible for your self-love. So
Absolutely.
every act that is self-deprecating is unwise, causing yourself more hardship. And say, and again, that rumination, like continuing negative thoughts, that is you doing something. Like me, like I sometimes I have negative thoughts. I I'm not perfect. Sometimes I doubt my skills or I doubt my connection with others, and then I have to like, and it's okay. It's okay to have those thoughts. It's just not okay to continuously have it in a fixed mindset, where it's like I'm never gonna be
Hmm.
good. I'm never gonna like. I love that practice of just add yet. I can't, like, instead of
Yeah.
saying I can't do it, I can't do it, it's impossible. Just say I can't do it yet. And
Yeah.
over time, if it's still like I can't do it yet, or then maybe it's just not for you. Maybe you just had a fixed mindset that was thinking, well, I should be good at that. Well, there are people that are good at things and there are people who aren't. And that is totally fine. That actually leads
That's
into
right.
the fourth conceit, which is that people are the same, or and we'll get into that. But I wanted to address inferiority, superiority. The philosopher Nietzsche, a German existential philosopher, liked to talk about that. How people we get into the habit and of like, and again, like Jung was also influential around this time of what we call self-defense mechanisms psychologically and philosophically.
Mm.
And the root there, in as far as Nietzsche understood, was that we all have, like, when we can no longer deal with things that challenge us, we develop a superiority inferiority complex. And what I feel like Nietzsche is describing is what the Buddha is describing here as the conceits. Basically, that
Okay.
we cannot be happy with our relationship with others because we either feel inferior to them or superior. If we
Or
feel
better.
inferior,
Mhm.
yes, if we feel inferior, we start to act in ways that undermine others and try to like sort of like make excuses for our behavior in a way to sort of topple other people, to make them less than they are, to take them down a peg as it goes. And
Yeah.
then the superior part is to suppress others and to make them seem like they're not as good as they are at things, and to,
Your opinions don't matter. All that stuff. Yeah.
yes. So then you get into that deep conceit about it where it's like, well, then other people will never learn. They will never learn. I'm smart, they're not. Why don't they know this yet? They're so dumb. Ugh. That regrettable.
Yeah. Thinking that you know everything is like the most ignorant thing ever. Like the wisest person. The wisest person is the one. I'm sorry. Oh, am I being judgy? Are saying people sucky? I meant they're suffering. No, I'm kidding. But it is it's just honest talk here, and I think the wisest thing is to admit that you don't know everything, because that's you know as
Bingo.
Buddhists we always gotta have a beginner's mind. Beginner's mind is everything. Like if you have a beginner's mind, you can always receive feedback, constructive criticism, advice, new ideas, philosophy, different things, different ways to see the world when we have a beginner's mindset, which is also part of the growth mindset.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what I gotta say.
No. You. That is a valid point, a very good one. That we need to, again. We've talked about the beginner's mindset quite a bit, and it's because it's so important. It's so important.
It
Like,
is.
I have to remind myself all the time. I need to be humble. Like I was saying before, in my line of work, egos are everywhere, and it's so hard not to get wrapped up in it. But I gotta continuously take a step back, start my day off the right way, which is with meditation. And I used to be a night meditator. Now I'm a morning meditator because I need to get ahead of my own proneness to unskillful actions and just being silly.
Yeah.
Just being is like I like to call it, being silly.
I
Just
think in the morning it's better because it sets the tone for your day, and kind of puts you in that meditative state that no matter what's going on around, you're going to be there. Although at
yeah,
night it has its benefits too, like you're able to sleep better and and all that stuff. But yeah,
exactly. If you have trouble with sleep, it's best to do it at night. But if you want to, but you could one might argue that if you start your day right, then you that continuous success
yeah.
throughout the day winds up better sleep in the long run because you will,
Uh,
yeah, so because you will have a better day. Finally, I wanted to talk about how there's the conceit of that we are the same as others. And I'm an egalitarian, Sky, meaning I think that everyone has the same rights. They should have the same rights. Should have the same equal opportunities. As an egalitarian, I believe that no one should go hungry if they don't have to. Like
of
there's
course.
no major crisis preventing food from going to people who need it. What except one that is caused socially, right? So,
Right.
and all this is to get into the talk about sameness. Why that's a conceit? Because sometimes I have the conceit of sameness, where I'm like, well, everybody is the same, and so like I should be able to just go to a colleague or someone and just talk to them, as if they were like my friend, like as if like talking to a colleague is the same as talking to Dharma Sky or Dharma Sense or any of the other of our sangha or my friends from. But that's not. That just gets us into, um, let's just say, painful moments in our lives because that because we are not seeing people where they are. We're not meeting them where they're at, and we don't know them well enough to build that
Right.
connection or to have that connection with them. Being too
Right. Right.
forward with some people can cause unintended consequences and results.
Right.
And that I constantly have to remind myself of that over and over again because I'm like I feel like I should be able to be friends with people right away and just be kind, and but then they say something that rubs me wrong or I catch them in the wrong moment and I don't know them, so I don't know how they act when they are not doing well. And then I'm like, "Oh man, that was painful." What it and then, and then I'm like, "Well, there's something wrong with them." It's like, "No, there's nothing wrong with them. They're
No, I
just I
mean,
just caught them in a bad moment or even a time in their lives, and I can't help them the way that I would like to. Being too forward and being too friendly, even you might say I'm being too nicey nice, and and going through like the internet and seeing these threads and these comments and stuff. That's what's going on. Like sometimes that's what's happening. That delusion of sameness. That well, I should say conceit of sameness. Is that everybody's commenting and so that everybody has equal ground in what to say. But in
mhm.
reality, there is a disparity between people who are knowledgeable about things and people who are not. People who have a better temperament, people who don't. People, what I mean? You can see how that sameness is a conceit. Like the comment section of every social media thread is a conceit. It is putting
Yeah.
us in that the firing line or in that like what I mean the firing range of conceit where it's like things are it's not equal in terms of or the same sameness is not the case here.
Everybody's mind and everybody's heart is different. Everybody has different circumstances. Everybody has different traumas or things that happen in their life, upbringings, tradition, culture, all that kind of plays a part, believe it or not, on people's mindset,
Mm,
what they hear, mindful consumption, what they consume all day that affects them. Like nowadays, you're talking about being in a train and stuff. Like I noticed that when I was younger, people tended to be a little happier, and now it seems like everybody's kind of focus on themselves and go go go. I think even though with all the social media and all the things, it seems in a way even though we should be more connected and we are in a sense as far as like information, but as far as community as just something as simple as being nice and kind,
mm,
I think that has escaped a lot in today's society compared to the past. I don't know if you agree, but
I
that's how
agree.
I feel.
No, I agree 100%. I feel Like when you said social media, I was like, you mean anti-social media? I
Yeah,
feel,
yeah,
yeah, I do feel like people are becoming more edgy and less tolerant to different opinions. And but instead of meeting that with antagonism or argumentation or you shouldn't be
right.
that way, like being righteous, we should just breathe, let it be. Like people are just acting out of habits, right? Like we said before,
Absolutely.
it's habit energy. It's not how people really want to be. People don't really want to be negative or terrible. That's not. People want to have a good
No, no, like
life.
nobody wakes up trying. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. We all have tanha and chanda. We have both. We have both the wholesome craving and the unwholesome craving. That's everyone.
Yeah.
That's people. That's even people who cause terror and injustice. Do they have a right to do that? No. But when we break it down, we start to feel less aversion to these people and more understanding about where they're coming from, why they're suffering. They are in the realm of samsara with the rest of us. But ultimately, what is causing people to say people suck? And why is everyone like becoming more and more abrasive or the tension, why is the tension rising? It's a three-letter word.
Three-letter word.
Three-letter word.
Hmm.
Starts with an E, ends
E.
with a O, it has a G in the middle.
Ah, I got you. Can I? Huh. I wonder what. Yeah. I guess you guys knew we were going to say this eventually, right? Ego. You can put like real big right there.
Yeah.
Ego.
Yes, it's the
We're
ego.
stuck in ego. We're stuck in our habits in our old ways, our fixed mindset, the
Hmm.
know-it-all personality. That's how it is. We don't want to grow. Like you said, our habits of thinking that we know everything, that we don't need to. People say like, "Oh, you suck." People suck. I get a lot of people say that. You're probably just repeating what people say. Again, just
Yeah,
habit. But yeah, it's all ego.
it really is. It's like if you think about it, it's like the young boy culture. Like I like watching shows on Netflix. Like one show that we both like is Stranger Things, right? And you
Oh
you
yeah.
you notice like, yeah, we used to say that as kids, right? Like the way that boys talk, like, oh, you suck, that sucks, like that's not cool, that's
Yeah, I mean,
cool, and
yeah, I did that. We all did that. Yeah.
guess what? It's a habit, and it's not a
Yeah.
particularly good one either. So,
No.
parents, you might catch your kids saying all kinds of wackadoo stuff nowadays, 6, 7, and
Hmm.
but guess what? That stuff isn't just a trend; it forms a habit, and it becomes the kind of adult you're going to be when you grow up, right? And
Mm,
over
absolutely.
time, it becomes what is called a fixed mindset, or you might say a mental formation if we're getting deeper into Buddhist
Yeah.
philosophy and cognition. It becomes a mental formation. It becomes a way that not just an opinion, but a way that we see the world, a worldview. It becomes like a lens or a form of evaluation that now it's like this person is either like this or they're like that. They fit into this category. And so the ego starts to categorize everything. And and we already explained how that happens throughout this video
Right.
and or this podcast even. And we need to reframe that. And there's a reason that we didn't start off this video by saying it's the ego, guys, and done.
There you go.
It's the ego
Yeah.
because it
It would have been a
absolutely
30
is.
second video.
Yeah, but also we wouldn't have been able to address the actual issue, right? Like not like we can't perform the surgery as it were if we just lead with, oh, you have sorry, I'm trying to think. What's the appendicitis? You have appendicitis, so we're gonna go in and cut
Oh
it
no.
out. Like it's less. We need to look at the appendix, and more like we need to perform the surgery to remove it, and that we need to do that before because again the ego is like, okay, it's the ego. It's like, got it. Okay, so ego done. We're good here. I understand. The ego's the
No.
problem.
No.
But guess what? That's ego, my friends.
That's the ego. That's the ego in itself. I mean, it's
Yeah.
good that you realized it, but okay, but it's more than that. Yeah.
We need to, yes, putting the cart before the horse there. The horse needs to drive the cart. So we need to, the horse being the work that needs to be done, right? The horse is the muscle that pulls the cart. The cart itself is just there to be pulled around. Anyway, Sky, this has been fun, but I feel like we need to start closing it up. So I wanted to paint a final picture for everyone, literally and metaphorically, allegorically, I should say. And that is that we're all in this together. And by in this, in the Buddhist context, and you can take this if you're a really like, let's say, scientific-minded person, like you see everything through empiricism, where everything needs to be confirmed through evidence or whatever. Samsara and the mandala could still be a useful engine for understanding how we're all in this together in the Buddhist context, whether you believe in the cosmology or not. And that is the mandala in like East Asian tradition is a diagram for the six realms of existence, which is the Deva realm or the godlike angelic realm, the Asura realm, which are demigods who are constantly in conflict. There's the human realm, which is, we'll get into that. There's the animal realm, which again, why is that separate? We'll talk about that. The fifth one, which is the hungry ghosts realm, and finally hell, which is the sixth realm, right? You'll see that the mandala, it's all one circle, and of course I'm gonna have an image, and it's all being devoured by Yama, the god of death, or Mara, yeah. And then there's Buddha in the corner pointing at the moon. But the six realms are depicting our experience in samsara. And samsara is the realm of suffering and death, and dying, being reborn, living your life, and dying again, being reborn, living your life, dying again, being reborn, living again, etc. Yes? So it's a cycle, and it sounds miserable because it's supposed to. You're not supposed to
Very,
like it.
very,
Yeah.
very.
And guess what? Even the gods are in that diagram, in that model. So to me, in the very practical sense, Sky, is that I started to feel like this is more an allegory than anything. Because there's the spiritual context that I embrace, but the devas, for example, who are the devas? The devas, the gods, as it were, or the angels of samsara. Well, to me, they're like the entertainers. They're like Hollywood. They're like celebrities, and their vice.
It's funny. It's funny you say that because you're saying devas, and I'm thinking divas in my head.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, go ahead.
that's right. I think diva and deva, I think they have a link. They're cognate in some way. Because devas in Buddhism are also, they sing to the Buddha. Like, let's say they're musicians, so they love music, they love entertainment, they love being like perfectly sculpted bodies and having youthful features, you know. And so devas are like that, but they have a major flaw, and that is they don't understand impermanence. They don't understand. And there's a Buddhist sutra about that, about Baka Brahma, who is a Brahmin deva, or god, who thinks that, everything is permanent and everlasting, and I am the god of this. I'm the god of the everlasting. And the Buddha's like, you're wrong, Baka Brahma. You are totally wrong, and I'll show you. And so, and of course, it sounds like the Buddha's dunking on him, but he's not. He's actually he's freeing Baka Brahma from his delusion, right? He's freeing him. He's not dunking on him. But just so you know, Baka means idiot in Japanese. But I don't know if there's, yeah. So I don't.
Spanish means cow.
Yeah. Hey, and you know what? Baka Brahma is on top of a cow, so I don't know, man. Like, he's depicted as riding a bull. So look it up. I'm not kidding. Well, I mean, I'm laughing, but I'm not kidding. It's just fun to find these nice little serendipitous, coincidences. And anyway, so they are suffering from the vice of conceit, like that they don't understand their place. So that is why they die and are reborn again, because they don't understand that samsara is impermanent, rather, and that they are deluded to think that they are all wise and that they are all powerful. So then there's the asuras, who are their twins, basically. The asuras are the demigods, and they suffer from aversion, from constant competition, struggle. And to me, in the real world, they are the military generals. They are the military. They are people embroiled in war or in competitive sports. they are the asuras, and so they themselves have some success, like they have some wealth, they have some power, but it is hard won. It is a constant struggle, and there's constant suffering in that way. And finally, we get to the human realm, which to me is the middle class. When you look up,
Okay.
and in the human realm, is wedged between the asuras and the hungry ghosts and the animal realm and hell, right? So you can see, humans, the middle class, love to admire the devas. They're like, oh, they're so beautiful. And sometimes they admire the asuras. They admire the military. I encounter people like this all the time, where they're like, oh, you're a veteran? Like, oh, do you know about this thing or that thing? Do you know about this war? Some of them are very, they're middle class, but they're very interested
Okay.
in uniforms and machines that cause death and destruction. And they think that makes their country great or interesting. I don't know. Again, that's like that boy culture following you up until you're an adult. And then, continuously thinking that's cool. And then the middle class looks down at the hungry ghosts, which the hungry ghosts are, to me, the impoverished people that are living in poverty, people with addictions, people with diseases and they can't see a doctor for. So they're people with wants. They have no, and they suffer because they can't control their craving, and they can't control things that harm them. So the middle class looks down on them, but also feels fear. Fear, that's what makes them ghosts, because they're afraid of going there, being in their predicament. And then the middle class
Mm-hmm.
also looks at the animal realm as completely separate. But then there's also the sameness there, where it's like, oh well, I have emotions and I have sensual feelings and desires and wants. We clearly cohabit with animals. So I don't know how we had the human realm and the animal realm as separate things in the mandala, because we're definitely one and the same. We're interlinked, and we also have the same
Yeah.
cells. We get diseases from
We
animals all the
we
time.
are we are mammals. We are
Yeah,
animals. Like
yeah.
whether people want to admit that or go there or have that conversation, we are mammals. It's just basic science. But
Yeah, yeah. It's
okay.
and it's an easy observation too. It's like we have the same metabolizing structure, and I was thinking about mitochondria because that's what it is in in the microcosm of our bodies. Like the microbiology of humans and animals, there's no distinction even. It's just through pure conceit and hubris that we are totally separate from animals. It's just whatever. Anyway, but humans fear animals too, and see animals as something other, and so that's the middle class, right? What we want to control. Middle class wants to control that. And not to mention hell. Hell is there. Hell is part of samsara. Hell is
Dun, dun,
on this
dun.
earth. I've experienced hell myself on this earth. War, like being in the midst of it, being in an abusive family household, being around people that we know are causing harm, but don't want to, like, we don't want to remove ourselves from that situation, like for
Yeah.
different reasons. So we don't feel we can remove ourselves from that situation.
Correct.
All this is to say that in Buddhism, we see samsara and we see nirvana. We see, like, the Buddha pointing to the moon, saying, don't look at my finger, look at the moon. As they like to say in Zen, don't look at the finger, look at the moon. Look at, like, yeah, all of this, but still, and yet, as our Roshi likes to say, and yet, you have all that suffering, all that crap. Yeah, people suck. In the sense, in the humorous way, we can say people suck,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's not that people suck, it's people suffer. And we're all stuck here together. And it's wrong to think that I transcended, therefore I'm better, and I have left this plane of existence. I am spiritually, I'm spiritually absolved of all this. And I am exempt from your suffering. No. We're all in this together.
You know,
And the thing is that the Buddha, the mandala, they always have the Buddha outside of samsara, but he's still like in the image of the mandala, but he's not within those categories.
Right.
Um, and again, it goes back to that conversation, Sky, of you know samsara and nirvana, no separation. It's at our temple. There's even like an inscription saying samsara is nirvana. It literally says that.
Mm.
What do you think about that, Sky?
But yeah, Sansara is Nirvana. So it's like the you have the mud in one side and the lotus in the other. You can have one without the other. It's all interconnected, and yeah, I truly believe that. I think in you can see Sansara all around you, the pain, the suffering, and especially if you have a fixed mindset, that's all you see.
Mm.
But when you have that beginner's mind, you can realize this all simultaneously. You can look at, yes, you have this dark side, but if you just look a little bit over here, you can see the beauty of that. Then appreciate that side, but kind of focus on the that growth mindset, that nirvana state of mind. So yeah,
No mud, no lotus.
no mud, no lotus.
Yeah, that's right. I've come, Sky, to call certain teachings of the Dharma when they are particularly relevant to us. Like for example, like when I heard Xiong Yi give a particular talk. By the way, for our sangha, I want to mention and give a shout out to Xiong Yi. He's one of the teachers that I've listened to and read before doing this. Doug's Dharma, another heavy hitter. The Enthusiastic Buddhist, and several others, like maybe Bhikkhu Bodhi, the Walk for Peace, the Venerable Panyakara. They're all part of this whole thing. Like I didn't just like come. Also, I already mentioned Carol Dweck. Um, all of these people, they're the sangha. They're the major heavy hitters of all of this. They're the finger pointing to the moon, right? But not this like they're not the moon. That's for us to see. That's for us to
Right.
discover and find out. But if there's a takeaway in any of this, man, I think we've already said it before. Like I think it was like halfway through this video. It's that we've got to just overcome the habit energy and find the mindfulness energy and take ourselves out of the equation of like this needs to happen and it's not happening or it hasn't happened yet, and therefore those don't who are not conducive to the thing that needs to happen, they suck. It's like we are not in control of that. We're not going to ever be.
No.
No. And the only way that we can help this outcome is ourselves being the change we want to see in the world. Like to quote Gandhi, we have to be the ones that are committed to peace and stop involving ourselves in the arguments, in the fray of it all. We're not going to win the argument.
You want to waste your energy on that? Like, do you want to create more
No,
separation? Like,
no, I don't, because I love people and I don't want them to think that I am an instrument in their suffering.
correct.
No, it doesn't matter who it is. Um, I pray that everyone's can be happy and well, and that they learn compassion.
In other words, people don't suck. It's your mindset. Fix your mindset. Open your heart. Open your minds. Practice that beginner's mind, and hopefully, that you could gain more inner wisdom.
Indeed. Thank you, Sky. I love that. Famous final words before we end the video. My friends, dear YouTube Sangha, thank you for listening. If you made it this far, sadhu 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 to you.